Oh,
What
it,
banks do you think are going to survive this crash? I know you're maybe a little bit down and out on the cryptos, and you and I may bump a little heads on that, but it's gonna be a friendly bump, I promise. You know, what banks do you think? Do you think Wells Fargo? Do you think Citibank? Do you think Bank of America will survive?
I can't tell you who is going to survive, but what I can tell you is that Wells Fargo, Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, all of the large banks, not one of them have a credible way of how they will unwind during the next crisis. And that means that they have all become, yet again, too big to fail. But I'm not sure that central banks have the ability to create enough money for them to be able to bail them out. And
Yeah,
definitely anybody who's holding money in the banks will be bailed in, right? So they're going to lose what money they hold in there. It won't matter anyway, because what they'll have to do is just print and print and print and print and print. And that means that the little teeny bit of purchasing power that yet remains in this garbage goes away. And last time I checked, a trillion to times zero was still zero. And it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
matter how many of these things you have. It matters what you can convert it into, what you can buy with it. In fact, I have
totally.
a $10 trillion Zimbabwe note, which means in Zimbabwe, I'm a trillionaire. You know with that?
Yeah. Well, listen, the bottom line is this. The system is so busted up. It is so broken. It is beyond repair. We need a new system. I believe that the Nasara Jasara flat tax system is very much needed. A system where everybody has to pay and nobody can get away with it. Even if your name is Jeff Bezos or if it's Elon Musk, everybody has to pay their fair share. And there's no more loopholes, which means there's going to be a lot more money in the cash register with that system. Are you on board with a flat tax? Are you on board with the fact that we need to take this old system down to the ground and build something new and go into a debt jubilee and start from scratch? Yes or no? And tell us why.
Um, I agree with part of those statements. I would be surprised by the other part of the statement. I don't really see a debt jubilee because this is about wealth transfer. But the reality is, everything has a life cycle, right? I'm going
Mhm.
to be 70 in October and I have a 9.5-year-old granddaughter. You need to learn how to recognize the aging of a system and the aging of a currency, because you're not going to look at her. She's going to be 10 in March. You're not going to look at her and go, I bet she might turn 70. Just like you're not going to look at me and go, yeah, I bet you she's going to be 10. And so the point is, I don't care what it is, everything has a life cycle. So it isn't even us, the people, that need to tear this system down. But when we get to the end stage, which is where we are right now, we are in the end stage of this fiat money's life cycle. That's why you see as much garbage and dreck inside of the system that you do, why it's so incredibly abused. So what I want to see is a sound money system. This is my personal battle that I took on, because I always look in the mirror and I go, if not me, who? And if not now, when? And so that motivates me to do something. If we have sound money, if we have gold as a component in the new monetary system, what gold does is it requires governments to have fiscal responsibility. Because while I do believe that everybody should pay their fair amount, if you're looking at what is getting paid now and by whom, it's not just that Jeff Bezos skates, it's that I did this study in 2009 because I looked at the federal debts and deficits. And at that time, this is 2009, right? The deficit was running at about a trillion, something like that, $1 trillion, right? If you go onto the Federal Reserve Education Department, the FRED, FRED, and up in that search bar, you put surplus deficits, right? What you will see is that most of those deficits, while they did start in the early 70s after we went off the gold standard, they really weren't that horrendous until 2008.